Welcome to NinonSpeaks. I'm Ninon de Verde Rosa, and we have an incredible guest tonight. But you know, I always leave the introductions to my beautiful producer, AJ Dean. She's amazing. Things are going absolutely great with this show. NinonSpeaks has been around since 2005. And we've been, you know, on Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere. And just recently, which is about a year and a half ago, we brought AJ into the arena. And it's been incredible ever since. We've won awards because of AJ. And because now everybody's trying to steal AJ from me. But that's not going to happen. And that it's too embedded. It's too complicated.
Absolutely. We're bonded for life, Ninon.
We've got, I don't know if I have little toes matched or something, but we're definitely bonded. But it's quite funny because, you know, when somebody becomes professional, they become really good and really great, and everybody behind my back, you know, they try to steal them. But I don't mind, because I've always said to AJ, this is your life. You do what you would like to do, and it's totally up to you. I will teach you. I've done this for many, many years. I've taught so many people to have their own show, do their own thing, and have their own, you know, whatever they want. It's out there to have. Just get the confidence and do it. But enough of all that stuff, except thank you to all the audience out there. Thank you to Roku, because they've brought us in, and we're doing great with that. And we put all the shows up. I believe everything's up. I'm going to take you over to AJ to introduce our guest, our lovely guest, recurring guest, actually.
Thank you so much, my beautiful executive producer forever. We are partners forever, and I'm so thankful and grateful to work with you, Ninon. And I'm so excited with you tonight. We have a very special VIP guest, just like you said, Ninon, Rose Kingsley. She's in the building. She's an international star, singer and performer. She's performed at the Metropolitan Opera, and now is a Capitol Records recording artist. She's been performing jazz songs throughout the world, and she has her own radio station on Pandora. She is called Vegas's newest diva, and she has done a command performance for Prince Charles, for the Prince Charles Trust. Welcome, Rose. How are you?
Hi, I am great. How are you all doing?
We're doing great. You're looking amazing. And it looks like you are sitting at your piano. Obviously, Rose, you can do a couple of chords if you want to.
I just call me Van Cliver.
Great introduction, right?
Yes.
I love it. You know, Rose Kingsley to me is not only does she have a beautiful voice in opera, but she also has she's gone a lot into jazz. She loves jazz, and she's kind of a jazzy person anyway. She's got a great personality, and her husband is amazing, Norm. So Rose, now let's hear a little bit about you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I just finished, actually about an hour ago, a rehearsal with my musical director, Bob Corwin. We're rehearsing for our up-and-coming show next Thursday here in Palm Springs, a big Christmas special. And then 2 days later, we are doing an evening of Andrew Lloyd Webber in Palm Springs with Alan Glassman, my colleague from the Metropolitan Opera.
You are doing very, very well. Have you ever kind of stopped performing at any length of time, or have you just continued performing all your life?
It's gone on and on and on from, you know, being a little girl, and then being a ballerina, and then transforming into a diva, international opera star, and at the Metropolitan Opera. And then from that, I was professor of voice at Auburn University and Chapman University. I've done master classes. Actually, I was the first singer and vocal teacher to do a master class at the Metropolitan Opera.
Wow.
That was very exciting.
You know, when you get all these things, I mean, how excited are you? I mean, you've been given a tremendous amount of opportunities, and you fulfilled them all. I believe were you at Carnegie Hall?
Yes, of course. I've done 2 performances at Carnegie Hall and 2 performances at Steinway Hall, which is in New York City.
Of course.
we also, what was exciting, do you remember Catherine Grayson? She
Oh
was
my, well, I don't, I do. I don't admit it. I'm not that old.
performed with Maria Lanza, and we did a show together at Lincoln Center. And she was in the great movie Showboat with Ava Gardner. And I got to do the duet with her. I Can't Help Loving That Man of Mine, that she did with Ava Gardner. And she sang Catherine's part. I did Ava's part. And it was so exciting. She was such a legend.
So what you're telling me is you don't only do opera, though you're known as an opera singer, but at the same time, you sort of, you can fit in with all this. How come you've got so many different voices? I mean, you sound like one of these people that are in the band that can play all these different instruments. They play the piano, they play the guitar, they play the drums, they play everything. Well, you're like that with a voice. That's absolutely.
Well, it's interesting because the voice, most people think a voice is three different parts. It's really not. The voice is equal from here to here. And so if you want to hear me down here, and then if you want to hear,
I'll let you do that. It's not in my league.
I don't change the way I sing down here to the way I sing up here. And
that's because you're talented. I mean, how old were you when you personally realized that you had a voice and you could actually probably go into singing?
I was about 12 years old.
12 years old.
I remember that because I remember thinking, at the time, I was into the Miss America pageant, okay? I used to watch it every year. And I remember thinking, well, someday if I'm on the Miss America pageant, I could do opera, I could do Broadway, I could do ballet, as I was a ballerina, and I can do tap and then jazz. And I'm thinking, I could do 4 little vignettes. And I remember thinking that. And I think that's when it started, because before I studied opera, I did do Broadway, and I worked with a lot of great Broadway teachers. And then I got to the Met as a ballerina. And there I was on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera with greats such as Franco Corelli and Renato Tebaldi and Birgit Nielsen. And I'm standing right next to them thinking, that's what I want, because I felt their passion. I felt the passion of opera. So I've been blessed.
You have been blessed, because I know there's a lot of our audience are going to look at you and they're going to turn around and say, well, with a voice, you've got a beautiful voice, but how did you manage to get into meeting all these people? Or did you have an agent? How did you get into being a #1? I know because of your voice, but you have to start somewhere. How did you get in there for them to hear your voice and the talents that you have?
It's called chutzpah.
Chutzpah?
Chutzpah.
That's a Jewish terminology. Chutzpah.
Yes, I've had agents, and I think the secret is that you make it happen. It's one thing, and I'm very fortunate now that I have my wonderful husband who works with me and makes. He makes a
lot happen.
Oh, he does. He's amazing.
Yes.
And I trust him implicitly. But when you're out there and you've got other people working for you, say I've been signed to, which I was at one point, signed with Columbia Artists Management in New York, and you've got maybe 100 sopranos on a list where they can pick any soprano they want. You just have to get out and make it happen yourself. You push. You can't be a wallflower,
But you also had a voice to present, and you presented it all in different ways. So you weren't just this opera singer. You actually stretched it. Well, let me try this, and let's do this, and let's do that. And you realized that you could do all that. So some people don't do that. And
I've always been unique. Hello. And even in school, I was always different, of course. And I remember being 13 years old, coming to school with makeup because that was Rose, it hasn't changed. And I've always,
And you still have the makeup on. You've seen Rose, and she'll have full makeup on.
I do take it off at night. Norm can attest to that. But my poor dog, Mimi, she looks at me and goes, gee, was that the same person I just saw a half hour ago?
Well, you do wear a lot of makeup. I mean, you are definitely original because the way you dress, your hair, and it's like, I think when they invented the word diva, I think that was applied to Rose. I think that kind of came out. Rose is definitely a diva and amazing. How do you manage to keep up the energy?
But Ninon, I feel the passion.
Yes, you do.
It's not just an outward being. It comes from my soul.
It's within you. It's all within you.
Yeah, and anything I do has to come from my soul. Even the music I sing, I have to feel it.
Yes, definitely, and that's why it comes out so beautiful, because you feel it. You're involved in it when you sing it, and that's
many years ago, I was compared to the great singer Mabel Mercer, who was from London. Yes. And she was the kind of a person that would sit on the piano or next to the piano, just with the piano, and sing. But what made her different was that she told the story. I tell a story. It's about the lyrics. It's not just about singing a song.
No.
And I think that makes me different.
I think so, because you express it. You express the words, you express the story. And just instead of just standing there, where so many singers do, they stand there, they hold the microphone, and they have a beautiful voice, but they don't kind of move. They don't kind of get into it, they don't have that feeling, whereas you have the feeling, you have the passion and everything else. Now, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I'm going to tell my audience. Rose has quite a story about a very well-known astronaut. And she actually met him, but I'm going to let you kind of evolve around this story, because it's fascinating, because I would never have thought you would have actually gone that direction, but love takes a funny way and goes in different directions.
Well, it does. And the other part of Rose is that I did, as a young girl, have an interest in space and space exploration. And at one point, I did want to go into the field of astrophysics and aeronautics. That must be the right side of my brain. And I wanted to be an astronaut. And I realized that the music part of me took over, but I did have an idol when I was 9 years old. He was on the cover of Life magazine, and he was one of the 7 original astronauts. And for some reason, when I looked, I was a very young girl, 8 years old. I looked at this man and I felt that we had been in another place at another time.
Oh, wow.
And I carried a torch for him and admired him, the fact that he was the first man in space and the 5th man to walk on the moon. And I met him. I carried this torch for 25 years because I felt that there was more.
There was a connection. There was a connection there.
There was a connection. And I met him 25 years later, and who knew the feelings I had for him, he also had for me. And we've put a wonderful, wonderful story, my memoirs. It's called The Diva and the Astronaut. And Dr. James Hansen, who wrote the New York Times bestseller, First Man, the story about Neil Armstrong, and the movie First Man, he was producer of that movie, loves my story. And he was in the process of writing a book, and he said, why don't you put this in as a musical drama? And we did. He wrote the script, and we debuted it about a month before the pandemic in Palm Springs. And then we just did it in Vegas about a month ago. And we got some great reviews. People left the theater crying.
Well,
And it's a
something
great
different. It's very different. It is definitely a Rose story, and it's a Rose thing. But at the time, and I don't think you mind me saying this because we know each other quite well. At the time, he was married and you were married, and both your husbands, the husband and the wife, knew about this, but
Yes.
they didn't mind. And it was so it wasn't something that was hidden away. It was something
No.
that was very beautiful. And I just wish more people could kind of be like you are, and sort of your passion was this, and it was accepted, and you went through with it, and you had a beautiful time. It was like a dream that came true.
It was, and it was, we say fairy tales can come true. And at the end, we almost wound up together. So yeah, and people will have to, next time we do the Diva and the Astronaut, you're going to have to come and see it.
Yeah. So now let's get back. Now you've been in Vegas a few times, and
Yes.
you found out that it's very hard to get into Vegas. It's very hard to get to get known, to get different things. How has your experience been being accepted and coming back into Vegas? Because you hadn't been in Vegas for a long time, had you?
No, actually never. And during the pandemic, unfortunately, I was performing in New York, I was performing in Chicago, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, and because of the pandemic, everything got shut down. Yeah. But being the fact that we live 4 hours from Vegas, we thought, and of course my wonderful husband said, oh, Vegas is open, and that's how it started. And what I'm finding about Vegas is that I am different. I am, as we said, the word unique comes, and it's been great. I think I'm finding my niche being Rose, being simply Rose, as I've been called by a few friends of mine who gave me the label. And he said, you're simply Rose because you can sing, you can dance, you can sing opera, you can do jazz, you do the Great American Songbook, you're a great actress. So I'm finding my niche there. And I think people are finally, they're onto me. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they're definitely onto you, and they definitely want to see you. And I think when you say you found your niche, but I think you'd find your niche anywhere, personally. I just think that you'd be everywhere.
I agree, Nina, and I hope I get to see you, Rose, perform in Las Vegas in the future.
You will, because I'm there in a show January 15th. I'm back doing the Andrew Lloyd Webber show at the Summerlin Performing Arts Center. And then for Valentine's Day, I have a guest by the name of Ronnie Rose, who is fabulous. And we're going to be doing Everything's Coming Up Roses at the Windmill Theater on February 13th. And he was funny. He said, if we ever got married, your name would be Rose Rose.
Yeah, Rose for Rose. You've got the roses, and then you'd be singing the roses. A rose
and then,
for a rose.
March, what is the date? March the 15th. We're doing another show. We're doing The Diva Sings Johnny Mercer. And that is going to be a fundraiser for Heaven Can Wait. And it's a wonderful animal shelter.
Yeah. Well, you're very fond of animals.
And then I'm back in May, and then I'm back there in July, and then September. So Vegas is going to see a lot of Rose.
I love it.
Me and Ninon and I will have to see you together.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it because I love it.
Who does all your bookings for you? Because there's a lot of people, Vegas is kind of the international entertainment place of the world for entertainment and music. And you are, as much as you are a singer, you are also an entertainer. Now, and there is a big difference because some people just sing and that's it. But you kind of, you talk about this and you're like an entertainer as well as being a singer, but you get a lot of bookings and people are beginning to notice you. And is that all because of the past, because of how much you've done and people are starting to recognize you? Because as you said, you've not been in Vegas, but you're getting all these bookings in Vegas.
Right. Well, I of course, they look up my past. The fact that my music is now being played on all digital channels, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon. The other day we have, I can't say it too loud because she'll start, Alexa. And if you ask her and you say, play Rose Kingsley, bam, she's on there. And all of our friends who have her now say, oh, please play Rose Kingsley. And they say, I hear you all over. So yeah, that's the other thing. My music is being played internationally in Japan. I have a lot of fans in Japan. And I have a lot of fans in Italy, being an opera singer, having performed in Europe. And now they're hearing me do my Great American Songbook and the music that we just did at Capitol Records right before the pandemic. And I think you might have the CD there, and it's called A Diva's Tribute to Johnny Mercer.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to show that for 5 seconds at the end of the show. Everybody will be able to see your cover CD for you. Yes.
Oh, fabulous. You can do that, AJ, for her?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, fabulous. That's wonderful. Because I like to, as much publicity as possible, because you're very unique. You're very different. You haven't given up. You continue and continue, and you work and you work. And I think people see, they see you coming out on stage and looking beautiful and everything else. But I don't think people understand the hard work behind getting there for the day. You've got to rehearse. I understand a singer has to kind of rehearse every day. Is that true?
Yes, I think
the vocal cords.
The great pianist Vladimir Horowitz says, if I don't practice for 1 day, I know it. If I don't practice for 2 days, my family knows it. If I don't practice for 3 days, the world knows it.
I was going to say your audience knows it.
Yes.
That's what happens. But so you're very dedicated. Now, you have a husband, obviously, that is also, he's amazing. So he's with you 100%, correct?
Oh, of course. He was the one that really discovered the Great American Songbook in me. We were out one evening at a club, and the musical director knew me as an opera singer, and he would call me up and I would do something operatic. But that night, I don't know what possessed me, but I did one of the Great American Songbook songs in my jazz voice, and he was blown away. And my husband saw it and he said, you know what? We have a new genre for you. And he has produced all my CDs. He's amazing, and got me the Capitol Records.
Okay. Since you're talking about your jazz and everything else, how about a little bit of vocal cords coming out? How about singing a little bit of jazz for me?
My mama done told me when I was in pigtails. My mama done told me,
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
That's one of Johnny Mercer's, and I've become a big Johnny Mercer aficionado because we're really close with the Mercer family. My musical director is played for Johnny for 20 years, and he also collaborated with him, and we're really close with the Mercers. And Johnny's grandson said to me, we just did a birthday celebration for Johnny in Hollywood at the Catalina 2 weeks ago. And Johnny's grandson came up to me. He goes, "Oh my gosh," he said, "my grandfather would have loved you." He said, but there would have been a problem. He said, because I don't know if you and Johnny being in the same room could have had both of you in the same room at one time.
Wouldn't that have been amazing? Oh my goodness, that would have been absolutely amazing. Have you ever thought of doing a musical? Because I know they just redid West Side Story, didn't they? They've just come out with West Side as a movie. They've just brought it out. It's coming out.
Well, in my teenage years, I actually in New York did summer stock. I did Fiddler on the Roof. I did Funny Girl. And if I were to go back and do something on Broadway, which we're thinking about actually taking the Mercer show and having Mercer back on Broadway, and we're working on that right now. I would love to do Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, really?
Love to be Norma Desmond.
Oh, yeah, that would be fabulous. And you know what? I wish we could.
for her
I wish we
song.
could talk more, Nina. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt and say we have to start wrapping it up.
We have to start. Oh, this is the sad part of the whole thing, but it's
Oh.
okay because we've got more to come later on. We'll have you back again.
I love
Absolutely.
it.
Rose Kingsley is
Bye.
is a good friend of mine. We've become very connected, and whatever I can do for Rose, I will, because I think it's incredible what she does and how her talent. She has not been selfish with her talent. She gives her talent out there, and she was blessed with a beautiful voice, so she shares it with the whole world, which is not many people can do that, but you do that. I also want to thank all our audience out there for tuning in, for subscribing, for pushing us along here, because this is very new. AJ is new, but she's not new now, so we can't use that as an excuse anymore. AJ, you got something to say?
We're going to have to think of something else, Ninon, to talk about.
No, I love her. Anyway, Rose, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
guys.
Norm, I know you're in the background. We love you. And thank you for putting all this together and everything else. You're absolutely amazing. Take care. Love everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.